When I first started making music, I think that my ultimate goal was just to make music that touched people the way music that I love has touched me. Obviously, everyone wants to be successful materially, but to me, genuinely, the most important thing was to make music that I could listen to and say, I'm proud of that and I love that. I'd always been writing lyrics and poems and things like that from about the age of 7 or 8 when I first started hearing Public Enemy and NWA and people like that. Kind of was always really into writing all through my teenage years, heavily influenced obviously by that kind of great wave of American hip hop with people like Wu-Tang and Nas and kind of real conscious early 90s hip hop with a message. I heard Jay-Z one day say that he doesn't write anything on paper and I didn't believe him. I was like, that's impossible. You can't make an album without writing anything down. So being the kind of character that I was, especially then, I was like, I'm gonna see if I can do that. And literally from that day, like my whole of my first mixtape, none of that was written down. The whole of my first album, it was all just in the head. But then when Freedom Lasso came, I decided I wanted to approach it a bit more like poetry. Like I wanted to write poems and then put them to music. So for some songs I did that, then for other songs, literally I'll just listen to the beat for half an hour and I'll be over and over in my head, I'll just be repeating what I want to say and adding to it and playing with it. And so now I kind of swing between those two. It's the more kind of laid back, metaphoric, poetic songs that are the ones that I'll write as a poem. But bit by bit was an odd one because usually as a rapper, when you're rapping on a beat, usually you take the rhythm of your rap from the drums. But bit by bit, that little arpeggiator is so kind of dominant in it that I approached it quite differently and decided to rap to that rather than to the drums. Even though bit by bit it's a love song and it's about a relationship, it's really quite show-offy in the way that I'm rapping, all that kind of quick back-to-back kind of alliteration and internal rhyming and stuff like that. Those ones, for some reason, I find it easier to do that without writing it down. Young money, love money, blood money, right? Your money, war money, more money, right? They don't even really understand what it's like. Electro living in the land of the light. Electro living. It was a weird song, Electro Living, because it was the first beat that we made for Freedom Lasso and it sort of defined the direction of the album. But yet, for some reason, every time we tried to put something on it, it just wasn't working. The verses weren't sitting right, the choruses weren't quite working, it was just, something wasn't right. And so we got a good friend of ours, MC Surreal, who kind of, that's what he does, he writes, kind of hooks is his speciality. And he came in and we got his take on it and he came with the melody. And then that melody for Electro Living in the Land of the Light, Young Money Love, like he came with that melody and then I put the words to it and it kind of, that mishmash and his new take on it really kind of was like, oh, thank God, finally. Bit by bit, take it slowly, bit by bit, just get to know me, bit by bit. I think the biggest lie told to young people getting into the music industry is you have to be like what's already out there. If we took out a list of the 100 biggest selling acts of all time and started going through it, you'd see that almost every single one, 95 of the 100, I know because I've done this and I've looked at the list for myself, are people that created something new, something fresh, something exciting, something controversial, something that touched people's soul, touched their heart, moved their body. Not people that said, oh, I like what he's doing, I'm going to copy that. This lie that you can just do it overnight, you can just copy what's out there and it will be all right. It's not good business because it doesn't really sell that many records and it's just not true. You'll be here today, you'll be gone tomorrow. You might get a record deal, they might give you a couple $100,000, you might be on TV for 5 minutes, but next year everyone would have forgotten because that genuine success only comes from that struggle and from that passion and that takes time. There's no shortcut. If you take shortcuts, you get cut short. You listening?